Let's get on to the advisory to talk tax and super with Liam Shorte from Sonas Wealth. Great to see you, Liam. It seems like all quiet a little bit on the Division 296 front at the moment.
Yeah, I might have spoken too soon. Yesterday, Diane Brown from Treasury spoke to the Senate committee, and they have confirmed that the government is now reviewing the Division 296 tax because of the concerns over the unrealised gains, taxing unrealised gains, and the lack of indexing. So we know now for definite they are looking at reviewing, and she has confirmed that Chalmers has received the advice on the potential revenue impacts of any changes as well. So after 2 months of hearing nothing, we knew something must be going on in the background. We know now that the government is receiving information, so we can expect that there may be a totally different type of tax that comes out over the next couple of months.
So do you think that it could be something like a renewed pension tax? Because there's been so much talk as well, haven't there, that the boomers had it really, really good.
Yeah, and that came out of that round table the government had. It was very clear that Gen X and Gen Z are very unhappy that boomers have done well. They seem to forget that boomers paid 18% taxes at the end of the 80s, early 90s. But so look at whether it's Division 296 in a new format or whether they actually come out with some form of tax. The days of Peter Costello's giving us a tax-free pension after 60, I think they're gone. We're going to see some tax on higher balances or maybe on overall pensions.
Liam, for those then that are worried that their children are going to miss out, what about adding to the children's super from their own super?
Yeah, so if look, a lot of our clients have not used any money in the last 5 years. They've taken their minimum pensions, and because the markets have done well, they've grown. And a lot of them are worried about how they can pass money to the next generation, but they're worried that they might blow it, to be absolutely honest. So one of the good ways of passing money to the next generation while you're alive is if you've still got money in accumulation and you've topped up your pension to the top level, you're paying 15% tax in accumulation anyways. So you might start taking money out and giving it to your kids to do as a non-concessional contribution into their own super. That way they can't touch it till they're 60, so they're getting the benefit of the compound growth. But you also know that they're getting money earlier now, so they can take the focus on having to save as much for retirement themselves and maybe focus on getting those large mortgages down that they've got and taking a bit of pressure off the family.
What does that mean then in terms of some of the other ways that people can try and get some support too? Because we're looking very closely at the property market. Obviously, there's this thought here that if you're thinking of selling your main residence, you could potentially move to your investment property. How does that work?
Yeah, so we're talking with a lot of people, especially in their 50s, about whether they're on high incomes at the moment, and they're looking at saying, look, we'd love to get an investment property, but then when we do want to get out of it, it's going to have to pay a lot of capital gains tax. So what we talk with a lot of people about, try and kill two birds with one stone. One is making sure you can get into the location where you want to retire. So maybe buying an investment property in that area, just so that it doesn't get beyond your price limit. Having that as an investment property until you're ready to retire, then you can sell your own principal residence capital gains tax free, move into the investment property, and if that is your final home, when you pass away, because it is your principal residence at that stage and not rented out, you can ignore the period where it was used as an investment property. So it really saves a lot of capital gains tax for your family. So it's not going to work for everybody, but a lot of people, we're trying to say you only want to move once in retirement. So if you're going to plan and buy an investment property in the area that you want to retire, then that may be a way of saving a lot of capital gains tax in the end for your family.
Another good potential problem to have, Liam, is if you own a business and you're planning on selling it and moving those funds into your retirement, what's the best way to do that?
It's just get some structured advice well in advance, probably 5 years out from when you actually want to sell it. And I would probably say anytime from 55 onwards, you should be getting a regular review of your current structure in your business. So business can be held personally, in a partnership, through a company or through a trust. But then when it comes to retiring, there are small business concessions to CGT. So it's really important to understand what they are, if the structure you're in at the moment will actually be able to avail of them, or because you've set the structure up in a way that suits the business short term, does that mean that you're going to lose advantages later? So it's a matter of looking at your options as you approach retirement. Get some restructuring advice from either an accountant, or your accountant may put you in terms with a good restructuring specialist, and just make sure you have it set up to make the most. You've spent all your life working in your business. You want to make sure you get the most out of it when you retire.
In terms of how people get advice as well, we know that potentially elderly people as well like face-to-face, and often they go into Australia Post too. What's the changes here, and how will that affect them?
Yeah, this is specifically for SMSF. So to make contributions into a super fund from an employer, you've got to have what's called an electronic service address. And there were about 14 or 15 of those over the last couple of years. Now it's down to 8. And the one that people were comfortable walking into and getting a face-to-face service was going into your Australia Post Office to do it and set up the address through there. Well, they've just announced they're going to stop that service. There'll be no more renewals and no more new clients taken on there. So people will have to find a new electronic service address, and they're going to have to do that online. So all I'm saying to people is go to your accountant or your SMSF administrator, see what your options are. Probably don't try and do it yourself. Get them to try and help you with it. But one, you may be paying for it, and two, of the 8 that are left, only 4 of them will handle rollovers and commutations. So when we talk about having more choice, in this case, we're getting less and less choice.